TOEFL IBT the week before the test. You should allow yourself about 4 to 6 weeks of preparation before you take the TOEFL. You cannot cram for the TOEFL, but there are some things you can do in the final week before the test. 1. Review strategies. Look back over the strategies in this book. Make sure you are comfortable with them. 2. Review tasks. Before the test, review the 4 different tasks on the TOEFL: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Familiarize yourself with the format and the question types you'll see on test day. 3. Know the directions. Don't waste time on test day reading the directions for each task. Learn the directions ahead of time. They won't change. 4. Warm-up questions. Look back at the questions you've completed. Review how you approached each one. Note any trap answers and question types that were particularly difficult for you. 5. Have a plan. Make sure you know the format for your speaking and writing tasks. Review the structure of your responses. Also make sure you've reviewed your personal order of difficulty for reading and listening so you have a plan for which questions to tackle and which ones will get letter of the day. Don't worry, we'll get to all of this later. Beyond the test, many students focus so much on the academic prep for their upcoming tests that they totally forget other areas that are just as important. Sleep. Your brain won't function very well if you're not well rested. Make sure you get a good night's sleep every night for at least 3 to 4 nights before the test. The more the better. Exercise. Especially if you think you may be nervous going into the test, make sure to stick to a healthy exercise schedule. Exercise is a fantastic stress reliever. Of course, make sure you ask your doctor for insight before you begin any exercise program. Eat. Just as your brain won't work very well without sleep, it certainly won't function without nourishment. Make sure to eat a healthy breakfast before you start the test, and take plenty of water and snacks with you for the break after the listening section. Prepare mentally. Many of the world's most successful athletes spend time visualizing themselves executing their sport perfectly. You can do the same thing. Picture yourself sitting at the desk, reading a passage comfortably and using process of elimination easily on the answers. Envision yourself listening comfortably to the recordings and making brief notes about the important parts of the lectures and conversations. Imagine yourself speaking calmly and smoothly during the speaking section. See yourself using your templates in the writing section. Study break. In the midst of your hours and hours of studying, be sure to give yourself a break, a study break, and take a walk, listen to a song you love, eat a snack. Giving yourself some time to chill and disengage is an important part of studying and preparing for the test. 1. Introduction. 23 Test day. On the night before the test, put your practice materials aside and give yourself a break. Make sure you know where your test center is, and plan to arrive at least 30 minutes before your scheduled test time. Be sure to dress comfortably and take a valid photo ID, such as a passport, to the test center. You should also take 2 pencils to take notes, although many centers will provide pencils. You may not take anything else into the testing center, so do not take food, backpacks, suitcases, cell phones, or laptops. Option to cancel your scores. When you've completed the TOEFL IBT, you will have the option to cancel your scores. There are a few really important points to consider before deciding to cancel. You will not get your money back. Your scores will not be reported to schools. You can't pick and choose parts of the test to cancel. Either you keep the whole thing or you cancel the whole thing. Your test can be reinstated within 60 days for a $20 United States dollars fee. Please check web links for current fees. You should also conduct your research in advance to inquire about how schools view multiple tests. 24 Cracking the TOEFL IBT. Part 2 Core Concepts. 2 Core Concept. Reading. 3 Core Concept. Listening. 4 Core Concept. Speaking. 5 Core Concept. Writing. 6 Vocabulary. Chapter 2 Core Concept. Reading. The TOEFL is an integrated exam, which means that each task may measure more than one skill. But the TOEFL is also a standardized test, which means that it consists of definite patterns. Your goal when taking the TOEFL is to make sure your responses conform to the patterns present on the test. The reading selections in this chapter will form the foundation for your listening and writing goals. Likewise, the skills needed to perform well in listening, speaking, and writing are closely intertwined. You'll find that mastering the core concepts of one section will also help you on other sections of the test. Reading. On the TOEFL, there are 3 to 4 reading passages on the TOEFL, each around 700 words. Although the TOEFL test writers attempt to simulate the type of reading you will do in a university or graduate school program, the reading skills required on the test are very different from the skills used in an academic environment. Let's take a look at a passage. Scientists at Michigan State University are asking a most challenging question. Can a computer program be considered alive? The members of the Digital Evolution Laboratory say yes. Computer scientists at the laboratory have created a program called Avita that has intrigued not only scientists and 5 engineers but biologists and philosophers as well. The Avita project began in the late 1990s, when Chris Adami, a physicist, sought to create computer programs that could evolve to do simple addition problems and reproduce inside a digital environment. Adami called these 10 programs digital organisms. Whenever a digital organism replicates, it has a chance to alter the program of the newly created offspring. In this way, the programs mutate and evolve. The goal of the Avita program is to create a model that could simulate the evolutionary process. 15 Initially, the digital creations were unable to process numbers in any way. But Adami designed Avita to reward digital organisms that were able to work with the numbers in some way. The digital organisms that could process numbers were allowed to reproduce in higher numbers. In only 6 short months, the primitive program had evolved a number of mechanisms to perform addition. 20 And, most surprisingly, not all of the digital creatures performed addition in the same way. The Avita program now resides at Michigan State University, where it has been growing and changing for years. The digital creatures number in 25 the billions and have colonized more than 200 computers. The organisms compete with one another for resources, and the most successful ones are able to make more copies of themselves. Just like living creatures, the digital entities also undergo mutations. Mutations that are beneficial ensure greater reproduction. Harmful mutations have the opposite effect. 30 As a model for studying evolution, the Avita project has been a great success. Adami's digital organisms have suggested solutions to some of evolution's biggest mysteries. For example, Avita has helped disprove the theory of irreducible complexity. Opponents of evolutionary theory have 35 suggested that some structures, such as the eye, are too complex to have been created in piecemeal stages. The evolution of Avita's digital organisms proves that even extremely complex structures can be developed in stages over time. 40 The Avita program's success has also raised some unintentional philosophical dilemmas. Does Avita just simulate evolution, or are digital organisms a new form of life? According to the director of the Avita project, the processes undergone by the digital creatures are the same as those experienced by biological organisms. The only difference is that biological 45 entities are based on strings of DNA, whereas the digital creations from 28 cracking the TOEFL IBT Avita are based on strings of ones and zeros. In a living creature, different sequences of DNA instruct cells to create certain proteins. In one of the Avita creations, different sequences of computer code instruct the program to perform certain functions. In both cases, the reproduction of the organisms 50 is subject to forces such as competition and mutation. Now, some biologists are maintaining that the programs in the Avita project are alive. The programs live, die, reproduce, compete, cooperate, and evolve, activities that many biologists consider the hallmarks of life. 155 prominent biologist says, they don't have a metabolism, at least not yet. But otherwise, they're alive. Of course, not everyone agrees that the program's creations are alive. One difficulty is that biologists do not even agree on the definition of life. The 60 diversity of life on Earth constantly surprises scientists, and there are simply too many characteristics and qualities to provide one simple definition of life. Despite these misgivings, the directors of the Avita program remain optimistic that their program, even if not considered alive, is leading to a 65 greater understanding of life in all its forms. It may even facilitate future searches for life on other planets. According to one member of the Avita team, the problem that we have now is that we are focused on looking for DNA-based life. But there may be other kinds of life out there that we have never dreamed of. The Avita program may provide biologists with another 70th avenue to explore. This passage is typical of the passages on the TOEFL. It's about 700 words long, and it discusses an academic topic. It contains some challenging vocabulary words and requires you to read about a topic in which you may have no interest or knowledge. Although you may end up reading passages such as this at a university or graduate program, your approach for the TOEFL should be very different. For example, in a college course, you would need to read this passage very carefully, paying close attention to the details and facts presented in it. That type of close reading, however, is neither possible nor necessary on the TOEFL. You should employ a tactic called Active reading, rather than close reading.